Welcome back, guys. Kyle from ThisIsTrouble.com coming at you from Kiev, Ukraine, with a video about things you need to know about Ukraine. So let's go ahead and roll right in. I've got 10 things here. We're going to get through them all. So let's go. Number one, it is perfectly safe to travel to Ukraine. The media likes to lie, and they like to lie a lot. So all of you have probably seen the picture of like the main square Maidan, where there's like the perfectly normal picture, and then next to it is all the burning buildings and all the people rioting and whatnot. And the media still is showing this photo and saying Ukraine is not a safe place to be. The reality is that was 3 years ago. There's a brand new police force, a brand new president in. It is perfectly safe to be here. And simply put, there's such a hysteria, and it's so natural when you're looking at a new country to go to and you're apprehensive naturally, and then when you see those kind of reports, it's very, very normal to be completely intimidated by that. And the reality is that you do not need to be. It is perfectly safe to be here in Ukraine. Number two, however, with that being said, there is a scamming culture, meaning a taxi driver or a street hustler or even a waiter at a restaurant might take pride, literally, in scamming you because you don't speak Russian or because you're a tourist. And this isn't true just to Ukraine. This can happen anywhere. But there is an actual pride in it that some of these people will take from it. And I don't want to say that's everyone in Ukraine. That's really kind of a very broad statement. But there are quite a few people that will take pride out of scamming people. And, we're talking groups of people that all encourage each other to continue scamming, mostly Western tourists. So just keep that in mind. With that being said, you don't have to fear for your life for anything. Just don't be stupid with your money. Number three, the best time to visit Ukraine is either going to be the late spring or the early fall. So let's talk first about the spring. The spring, after a long, cold Soviet winter, means that sundresses, high heels, and a complete disregard for bras is what the norm is, basically. With that being said, it's just a fun time. When you have such a long, miserable winter, it's very natural. When that sun starts to come out, everyone just wants to be outside, and it's a really good time. With that being said, summer can be good, but you also have to deal with a huge influx of tourists, and at the same time, I know a lot of guys are interested in Ukrainian girls. We're getting into that in a second, and a lot of them either leave during the summer. However, come fall, there's a huge influx of them coming back. And with that being said, also, once you reach the fall point, everyone here is preparing to kind of hibernate up for the long, cold winter months. People just want someone to cuddle with, watch movies, and drink hot cocoa. And there's a lot less going out, a lot less, kind of the mating game. It's much more people want to kind of settle in and stay warm, really, is the best way to put it. The next point I want to bring up is that Ukraine is confused right now. On one hand, they're trying to join with the EU and get the visa-free travel and kind of become part of the European Union. And at the same time, a decent chunk of their country in the Far East is wanting to push back and rebel and rejoin Russia. And so there's a lot of the same, traditional Soviet, Eastern European values present. And at the same time, there's a lot of McDonald's around. There's more KFCs popping up. People are getting fatter. And so there is this poison from the West that's kind of grabbing at Ukraine saying, come to us. And people are trying to resist it, but only time's going to tell if they actually end up being successful in resisting that change towards a more Western mindset. So if Ukraine is a place that's on your radar, it may not be as good as it is now in 3 years. Even guys that were here 4 or 5 years ago say it's not as good. With that being said, there are pluses to that, which means people are learning better English and they're a little more receptive to Westerners. However, it's not always a good thing. When you really want to get off the grid and try crazy new things, you want something where it's a little uncharted territory. So just keep that in mind as you move forward. Number 5 point to know about Ukraine is that it is a 3-date culture, meaning it's going to take you 3 dates to have sex with a girl. And that's really weird, especially for guys coming from the West, where it's very normal to have sex on the first date. It's really simple, though. Once you figure it out, it's the first date, you go for a coffee or a beer, you just kind of hang out, do whatever. You may go for a walk after. Date 2, you can also do the same thing and go for a walk. And then usually by date 3, most of them are very proud of their cooking skills, and they've if they like you, they've offered to cook something for you, or maybe you're a good cook and you've offered to cook for her. And usually you'll find it just works itself out one way or another around date 3 or 4. Something else to kind of know on that same note is that it can be a culture where they don't really plan things, meaning that if a girl like texts you at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and says, "Hey, do you want to go for a walk at 5:30?" You should just go ahead and do that. That's perfectly normal. And yes, walking isn't normal. Like, it's absolutely okay to go walk for 2 hours on a date with a girl. Seems like a weird date, but it's completely normal here, and don't hesitate to do it. More than often, you'll get to get some good exercise and see some part of the city that maybe you haven't already seen, which is always nice. With that being said, number 6, I want to really drill this home. The dating culture is different. In the West, if you don't kiss a girl on the first date, if you don't make that move, she thinks you are a coward and she will not go out with you again. That is not the case in Ukraine. You can go on 2 dates and not kiss a girl, and she will still be attracted to you. She will still want to go out with you. You do not need to push the physical part of a relationship too quickly. Trust me, they'll let you know. That's the best advice I can really give. So really just forget everything you know about dating in the West. It's the complete opposite. It's not going to make any sense at first. You're going to struggle. You're going to fail. But eventually you'll figure it out. That's why you're watching this video, right? To learn all about Ukraine. All right, number 7. Ukrainian people need warming up. This is not just the dating aspect. So I'll give an example. My first month here in Kiev, I went to a coffee shop nearly every day. And at the beginning, when I would go there, it would be... I'd order in English. My Russian was very, very, very bad at that point. Still very, very bad. But I would order in English, and they would be just skeptical of me, or just a bit of a coldness, and I didn't quite understand it. But by the end of that first month, even after probably 2 to 3 weeks, when they were seeing me every day, I was ordering the same things. They were giggling at my poor Russian. All of a sudden, I started walking in the door, and they started recognizing me and waving like, "Привет," and then they would make my coffee as I'm getting in line, have it all ready for me. So it totally just did a 180, completely flipped around from what it was just a couple weeks prior. It really takes some time for them to understand why that you're, not just passing through, that you are taking an interest in their culture, and that you're not just some crazy wacko from the West. And so once you get that point, they're much more friendly and open. And it's the same thing, even like girls that you date, it sometimes still can take weeks or months for them to really open up to you. And so just don't worry about that. Over time, they will warm up. Speaking of English, here is the trick. Most Ukrainian, especially the young people in service industries, they can speak English. However, there is a huge fear of being judged and of having poor English. So, for example, let's say you're going up to order coffee at McDonald's, we'll say, for example. And assuming you speak 0 Russian, the proper thing to do is to not be like, "Hi, I'll have a black coffee." You just can say quietly, "Do you speak English?" And not loud, like, "Do you speak English?" Just, "Do you speak English?" And 99% of the time, they're going to respond and say, so. That's all they'll say. And that is your cue. Just order your food, and that's it. Take all the pressure of actually speaking the words off of them. Because if you're speaking and they are understanding, which they're all going to, it actually makes them look good. Like, "Oh, hey, that person, my colleague or that guy over there working speaks good English." And so when you put the pressure on them to actually come up with the words is when they tend to get a little bit more nervous, and it just makes it more uncomfortable. So the best thing is to take those cues and just order. With that being said, Russian is a fucking difficult language, but it can be, it's not hard to learn the basics of how to order. For example, if you wanted to say I'll have an Americano without milk, it would just be "Можно пожалуйста, Americano bez молока." So, and "Можно пожалуйста" in that case is just "Can I have, please?" is the translation. And so once you get the hang of that down, it'll make things a little bit easier. But obviously, some of these sounds in Russian are very difficult, so keep that in mind. The next point, number 9, got 2 more left. Get used to it. No, you cannot have your burger with 75% of it off to the side. No, you cannot substitute your sour cream for cheese and barbecue sauce. You have to keep things simple, and the customer service here is not always the greatest. They're not going to bend to every whim. Just remember, The basics are probably okay. Like, I'll have a burger without mayo, that'll probably come out okay. But doing elaborate substitutions and whatnot is a surefire way to end up disappointing how your food's going to turn out. And, they're not going to comp it for you. We'll put it that way. And the final point that you need to know about Ukraine is that you need to just keep going. And I'm slamming my pen in anger over this. It is a country that is hard to figure out between the different language, the different alphabet, the completely different dating culture, the coldness of the people at times, and just being so far away, removed from what we're used to in the West. It's a tough place to figure out. I can't tell you how many other expats I've met who came here and struggled for weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden, around week 3 or 4, it all starts to make sense. All of it. And they start really enjoying their time there. But you've got to toughen through those first few weeks. There's going to be times where you're beaten and you're down. Like, maybe you're lonely. Maybe you're having bad luck with a girl. Or, you're getting all your food all screwed up. Just keep going. Stick it out. The best thing you can do is to deal with it and come out stronger as a person on the other side. And I think in most cases, you're going to find you're going to come out much better and you're really going to enjoy it. And so those are the 10 things that you need to know about Ukraine. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And remember, just keep going. Cheers.